Hello, this is Mr. Kent of MrKent.com, and I've been sick for the last couple of days. I don't know if you can tell by my voice. And this is Thursday, and since Monday we've been having lots and lots of rain. A whole lot of rain. And it's kind of unusual this time of year, but that's what we've had. So this morning it cleared up for probably about 2 hours, and I went out to my favorite park and decided I'd see if the Queen Creek wash has any water in it. Now, if you will take a look here, and straight out to the left of the screen, right there, is the Superstition Mountains, and or the main one, and there's more behind him. But anyway, this wash that's down in front of us here is called Queen Creek because there's a Queen Creek that runs down out of the mountain, and when there's heavy rain or melting snow, the water rushes down that creek and comes down just right to where we are right here, and also continues on beyond that, and I should make a video about that sometime. But it just travels on down, and they dug this big ditch. They've dug several of them so that they can contain when it rains really hard and so forth. It contains the water and keeps it out of my backyard. So anyway, so this is the Queen Creek Wash. And how it got its name, well, let me start from the very beginning. In the early 1800s, there was a little prospecting community halfway up the side of Superstition Mountain. And there was a prospector up there who had a mule, and he named the mule Queen in honor of his a cow that they had when he grew up on the farm. Now we're going to the upper end of the Queen Creek wash here, and those two little things down on the left there, and the one that we saw earlier, those are drains that come from the streets up on the level there. Anyway, so we're going up to the upper end here, and back to the story, right? Okay. Well, anyway, so the old prospector, he named his mule Queen after the cow that they had when he grew up on the farm. And so he made his living prospecting, panning for gold and so forth, and also trapping furs and so forth that he would sell to make money. Now this part here, this is another ditch that all that water comes down that trough from way 25-30 miles away down the Queen Creek down and puddles up here, and when that overflows, well, then it gets down into the wash that we're coming back down now. We're coming down to the deep end. So anyway, our monsoon season is in late summer when it's really, really hot. And so the old prospector and his mule were up there, and it was hot and there was no water. But all of a sudden, the prospector saw that there was a bunch of clouds forming, and it looked like there was going to be some rain. And sure enough, it started raining, and boy, that mule got out in the middle of that creek as the water was coming down, and he had a dry tummy. So he was just drinking and drinking and drinking and drinking and drinking. And the old prospector said, he started calling Queen, said, "Get back here. Come on, get out of there," because he knew there was, sooner or later, the water was going to come rushing down. And so as we get down here, we'll see it's coming up here, I think. There's a big old puddle of water to begin with. And then over on the right, there's another drain that comes down from the streets up above. So where was I? Okay, so anyway, he hollered, and his mule just would not listen. He was a stubborn old mule, you know. And here's a pretty good sized puddle. So the mule, he just kept drinking and drinking, and pretty soon you could hear the crashing sounds of a flash flood coming. I think I'm going to zoom in here, and we're going to take a closer look at this. So the flash flood came down, and the mule never got out of the creek, and he got washed on downstream, and nobody ever knew what happened to him. because he just wouldn't. He was stubborn, and he wouldn't listen to the prospector. So the little community, the creek had never been named because it was dry, 10 months out of the year, and so it had never been named. So the little community decided that they would name it Dead Mule Creek, and so they named it Dead Mule Creek. And now we're going to go down. We're going to see a lot more water down inside, looking down into this bunch of trees here. And so Dead Mule Creek then was what they called it, even though there was no water in it most of the time. And the old prospector, he finally died. And when he died, everybody remembered the mule, and they wanted to. They wanted to name the creek after the old prospector, and you can see how it's trickling out right in front of us here and going down in to underneath of the highway there, and then it goes on down from there and goes for miles, a couple of miles that I know of, on beyond. So where was I? Oh, so they wanted to name the creek after the prospector, but no one could remember the prospector's name. And so everybody remembered the name of his mule because it was what you normally name a cow. And so they just said, well, let's just call it Queen Creek. And some people thought that was crazy, but so in that little community, which by the way has grown to be a little settlement that got some houses up there. It's called Queen Valley now. But anyway, so the little settlement of prospectors there, you can see the water is trickling out. The prospectors, a little settlement back in the early 1800s, decided to name it Queen Creek. Now, for more details, be sure and check the description below and get all the information, because I'm running out of time here. But I want to thank you for watching, and God bless.